Has anyone ever told you that you're too nice? It sounds like a compliment, right? Well, today we're going to dig into a really provocative idea that asks, what if that constant need to be agreeable isn't a virtue at all, but actually a hidden danger to you? Let's get into it. It's something we're all taught, right? From the time we're kids, it's just hammered into us. Be nice, don't make waves, just be agreeable so everybody likes you. And it's sold to us as the absolute bedrock of being a good person. It's so fundamental that, honestly, most of us never even stop to question it. But here's the twist. Here's the really challenging question our source material poses. What if all that constant, unchecked kindness isn't really building bridges? What if it's actually tearing down your own walls, leaving you completely exposed, and even making you a target? All right, so let's jump right into our first section here. We're going to start taking apart this whole idea, this kindness myth. So the core argument is this. When you take being agreeable too far, it's no longer about a real connection with people. It actually becomes a form of self-betrayal. You're literally working against yourself, pushing your own needs and feelings and boundaries to the side, all for what? Just to be liked? And this really lays out the stark difference, doesn't it? On the one hand, you have the appearance of being the super kind, agreeable person. But what's the reality? The source material says that more often than not, it just means you end up tolerating disrespect. And not just from other people, but from yourself, too. Okay, so this brings us to a really important idea called the barrier to harm. The easiest way to think about it is like it's your psychological immune system. It's that gut feeling, that little alarm bell that goes off when someone crosses a line. But when you're always trying to be agreeable, you're constantly shutting that alarm off, leaving yourself wide open. So let's take a closer look at what happens when that internal defense system is gone. How does this actually play out in real life? And why is it considered such a dangerous betrayal of yourself? Well, the consequences are pretty huge, actually. For starters, manipulators can spot someone without strong boundaries from a mile away. It's like you're sending out this big flashing sign that says, hey, my needs don't matter. And that, unfortunately, is a wide open invitation for disrespect. It becomes this really nasty cycle, The more you abandon your own needs, the less you're able to protect yourself. And this quote from the source just nails it, doesn't it? When you repress your shadow instincts to be liked, you essentially tolerate disrespect. It connects all the dots. That need to be liked, it comes at a crazy high price, your own self-worth. So that brings up a big question. What exactly are these shadow instincts? All right, so this is where things get really interesting. We're going to shift gears a little from the what to the why. We're about to dive into some deeper psychology here, exploring this powerful concept of the shadow. Because honestly, understanding this is the absolute key to getting your self-respect back. So this whole idea is rooted in the work of the famous psychologist Carl Jung and his concept of the shadow. What is it? Well, basically, it's all the parts of ourselves we don't like to admit we have. The parts we try to hide or deny, our anger, our aggression, our assertiveness. It's like a mental storage locker for everything we were ever told was not nice. But here's the absolute game changer. We have to totally reframe how we think about the shadow. It is not some evil monster that needs to be locked in the basement. No way. It's the source of your fire. It's your passion. And most importantly, it's where you get the power to say enough is enough and protect yourself. That is your barrier to harm, right there. Okay, so how do we actually do this? How do we reclaim that power? Well, the source material gives us some pretty clear, practical advice. And it all starts with one simple, but let's be real, incredibly difficult word: no. So there's a 3-step process here. Step 1, you've got to learn to even recognize that quiet little voice inside that's screaming no before your people-pleasing brain can shut it down. Step 2, you have to actually honor that feeling. And finally, step 3, you act on it. And that action has a really interesting name. It's called withdrawal as consciousness. Now, this is really important. This is not about storming off in a huff or making a big dramatic scene. Not at all. It's a calm, deliberate, conscious choice. You're strategically pulling your energy and your presence out of a situation that is bad for you. It's not a knee-jerk reaction. It's a thoughtful action. It's pure, simple self-preservation. And this quote really drives home the mindset shift you have to make. Saying no is not an act of aggression, but an act of self-respect. Think about that. Every single time you honor that gut feeling and say no, you're not being mean. You are respecting yourself. You're sending a powerful message to your own brain that you are worth protecting. All right, let's bring it all home. What does this look like in the real world? What does it actually mean to let your shadow speak in a way that's healthy and integrated? This right here is the biggest takeaway of all. It's so powerful. Being harmless isn't a virtue, because a harmless person has no other choice. But someone who has embraced their shadow, someone who is fully capable of being assertive, of getting angry, of saying no, and then chooses to be kind, wow, that is real strength. That is real virtue. Because it's a choice that comes from a place of power, not from a place of fear. And that's really what it means to be a whole, authentic person, isn't it? It's not about getting rid of the parts of you that aren't nice. It's about integrating them. It's about letting your assertiveness work for you. When you do that, you become more balanced, more real. And the funny thing is, you actually become capable of a much deeper, more genuine kindness. So, we're going to leave you with this one last question to chew on. If you really listen, if you get quiet and listen past that constant urge to be agreeable, what is your shadow trying to tell you? What message is it trying to send to protect you? Something to think about. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.